Okay, so today we are going to be making what's called the foot. It's going to attach to the underneath side of our project. So you're going to need to very carefully lift up your palette. And our clay is still really fresh, most likely, so you're going to flip it over very carefully and set it upside down. The next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to get a chunk of clay. We need to roll this into a coil. So I find the easiest way to roll is directly on the surface of the table. So I'm going to push my canvas mat off to the side, and then I'm going to start. It helps if you kind of pre-form that. So if you kind of press the sides to make them a little bit more rounded and a little bit less square. And then you're going to set it on the table and you're going to roll it forward. And then I bring it back and I roll it forward. If I go back and forth like this, what happens is it flattens the sides of the coil. You want to have even pressure, and this is going to be a pretty thin coil. We want it to be somewhere between like around 1/4 of an inch to at maximum 1/2 inch. So I would go even thinner than this. Let's aim for about the size of our pinky. To me, again, about the size of my pinky. So now I'm ready to add the foot to my clay paint palette. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to take my needle tool, and I'm going to start to lay this around. And I'm trying to decide if I want it to go into the grooves. I don't think you have to. I want to support those areas though, so I'm going to go ahead and loop mine up into those areas. And you're essentially just following the contour or the outline of your project. Now you want to keep this in just a little ways. It doesn't have to go all the way to the outside edge. And then once you're happy with it, I like to make a little outline. I'm going to do mine on the inside. And what that does is that helps me see where I'm going to attach it. So I'm just going to very carefully pick this up. And so now we're going to do what we call scoring. So right along that line, I'm going to go ahead and score. And then I like to go back the other direction. So they're like little X's. So now I'm going to do the same thing on this. I'm going to make all those little grooves. I'm going to take and I'm going to score both pieces. It can't just be one. We're ready for our slip. It should be in the container. You can take one of your little wooden tools, or you can use your finger. It's up to you. And I oftentimes will put the slip on the part that I'm attaching. You don't want to get too much, but you want to try and get it down in those grooves. Okay, so very carefully, I'm going to take and kind of flip this over. So I know this needs to go here. I'm trying to get these back into the place that I originally arranged. And now I'm going to press down to get that into place. And then I want to blend this to have this be as smooth as possible. And there are different wooden tools you can use to do this. Or you can also, our clay is fresh enough, you should be able to just take your finger and press down around the edges. Now if you're having trouble or maybe there's a little too much slip, you can also take the wooden tool. And then I'm going to take my sponge and my water. Remember, we dip it in and we squeeze it out so there's not a lot of water in it. And then we can use our fingers, we can use our sponge, and we can smooth this out a little bit. Be careful that you're not pressing too hard because we don't want to affect our wells on the other side. And then I also like to take, if I can, in the areas where I can see my coil, I do the same thing on the inside. I can see that I'm starting to indent into some of my paint palette areas, so I gotta be careful that I'm not pressing too hard. And this step can be if you have time. Now I'm going to flip it back over. You can see that raises it up. It gives it a little more support. And now it's time for the final smoothing. So I can go back through and just kind of smooth out areas, smooth out edges. Like here I've gotten a little extra clay. Make sure to take your fingers and press along the contours. Now here I feel like this is going down a little bit too much, so I could even add a little bit of clay if I need to my foot. So this area got a little flat, so I could score and slip and attach this on here.